He listening to.
He listening to. Telling me mute this.
What a beautiful moment we just had. I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged.
Yo.
Enemy soldier incoming.
Yo.
Enemies dropping into the AO. All stations, this is Shadow 01. Deployment to the war zone has been authorized.
Mama don't know won't hurt her. I've never seen that crackhead white before ever.
Stay alive to keep your squad in the fight.
Sir.
I'm not on stabby, man. So we can get loaded.
Landed this side. Landed this side.
Supply boxes marked. Secure those locations.
Got a guy just landed right below me. One broke.
Fuck.
Enemy soldier incoming.
We got loaded, we got loaded. Alright.
UAV going up. UAV going up.
Gas mask here.
I'm at the bar again.
Cash.
Got the cash, I'm on.
Load up my cash, come on.
Oh, there's no way. There's no way. Pop some fucking guard.
Here.
That was tough, bro. I thought we were fucking.
Studies is that that's self-kindness.
in our studies is that that self-kindness is it's too fleeting. And so like a week later, a month later, we don't see an effect.
Yeah.
So maybe in the moment you're feeling good, but a month later we don't see the effect. But kindness to others is not as fleeting.
First of all, can the pursuit of happiness turn toxic at some point and start backfiring? And if so, where is that point exactly?
Yes. And again, this is really interesting because we were talking about like money and beauty are associated with happiness, but the pursuit of those things are associated with unhappiness. So it's a little bit similar with happiness, right? So if you pursue happiness too kind of deliberately and obsessively, especially, again, everything in moderation. Sure. That's associated with unhappiness. So there's research showing that people who kind of like agree with statements like, happiness really tells them sort of how worthwhile they are, and they really are kind of obsessed with happiness. Like that's not good. So that's associated with unhappiness, and so that's not surprising. Right? You should enjoy the journey to get there. And so, but if you too focus on like, I want to be happy, you're kind of assessing it all the time. Just like, look at the stock market every minute, right? You don't want to be asking yourself, am I happy yet? Am I happy yet? Am I happy yet? That kind of focus on how happy you are can definitely detract from it.
Yeah, the actual questioning itself removes you from it, which is kind of gets into like a very Buddhist type of attachment thing. But it's interesting because every negative emotion is ultimately adaptive. And I think what gets missed a lot is that happiness is also adaptive. It's not adaptive to be happy at a funeral. It's not, you don't want to be happy if a school burns down. Like it's
of course. And it's like it's a time you can think about it sort of like the time, place, context, dosage. I'm a big believer in sort of looking at dosage. Like what's the optimal dosage of happiness? Can you be too happy? And it turns out in relationships, well, at least one study showed, you can't be too happy in relationships. We all like to be with happy partners. Yeah. But at work, you can be definitely too happy.
Really?
So we don't want people who are too happy at work. Partly maybe because you're maybe distracted and you can't be as productive.
Survive and your team can redeploy. Eliminate targets and bring them back. Enemies are dropping into the area. Watch the skies. Friendly precision airstrike inbound. Attack map. Hostile Guardian is active. Strike this intel reveals the location of the next gas spread. Get it to the designated uplink station for decryption. Hurry up. Your squad mates redeploying. Well done.
Engaging here.
Also, we don't like people who are too happy because we think they right? If they're inappropriately happy.
Yeah.
We don't like people who are too happy. We like people who are kind of like happy but not too happy. So there's sort of an optimal point. Yeah, so there's just so many nuances there. And just like as you said, with negative emotions, there's a dosage of negative emotions. If you're angry all the time, right? If you're too sad, everyone agrees that is not functional. But sometimes people who study happiness are interpreted as like, oh, we want people to be happy all the time. We don't believe in negative.
Yeah.
And of course, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Negative, and there's the contrast, right? How can you be happy if you've never known anything else?
Yeah. I think you run into that more in my space with the self-help industry. You sometimes see promises of that, and even some people kind of pushing that message a little bit, which I've made my bones just telling people how unrealistic that is and ridiculous it is.
But I wonder, like, does anyone really believe that you should be sort of positive all the time?
I've run into some, in this space, and I do think it is. I think maladaptive is the proper word for it, because life will inevitably throw you curveballs. Something's going to get fucked up at some point, and if you are in a mindset of having to always maintain a positive effect no matter what, you essentially have to become delusional and detached from reality to maintain that when things go wrong. And that's just maladaptive. It's not helpful.
It's funny because sometimes it just seems so obvious to me. That, maybe it's not obvious to everyone. I mean, positive thinking is very important.
Sure.
And optimism is very important. It's very powerful, but there's a time and place and dosage. And timing matters, right?
Yes.
So when something bad happens, that's why when you give advice to people right after a negative event, we want to sort of make them feel better, and we want to give them kind of a reappraisal, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, but this, you will grow from this experience, but if it's too soon, it's really offensive, actually.
Yeah.
Because they want to be validated.
Yeah.
People want in their negative emotion and the suffering.
You're supposed to be sad at a funeral. You're supposed to be upset when an injustice happens. I have been surprised over the years how many readers and emails I've gotten where my response has essentially simply been, it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be anxious. Like, this is an anxious moment in your life. That's fine. I think there's a weird, at least in our culture, there's a weird tendency to judge certain emotions and to judge them as appropriate or inappropriate or as reflections of our character, which I think is just incredibly unhealthy.
So interesting, but it was so hard is that balance. So at what point or how long do you stay sad or angry when you have kids and they're, say, very anxious about something, and they're anxious, and you want to validate them.
Yeah.
But then at some point you're like, okay, you want to also try to help them reframe.
Sure.
It's very difficult. And I guess that maybe that's what therapists are for, to try to figure out that balance.
We haven't really talked about the baseline happiness or like the set point of happiness, but people probably have different set points for other emotions. Some people are just naturally more anxious than others. Some people are naturally more angry than others. And I think the same way we tend to return to the same happiness level naturally, we probably have similar dynamics with other emotions as well. Next one. Meditation. Well, depending who you talk to, I would say underrated, but okay.
Like the people I know are all like really into meditation.
Yeah,
so.
Out here in Santa Monica,
exactly.
California, it might be overrated.
Exactly. It's so funny because I feel like I just can't meditate. I've tried it.
Yeah.
And actually, I saw a talk somewhere that showed actually meditation has effects that are like bimodal, so that for some people it really doesn't work.
Yeah.
For other people, but it depends how you define meditation, right? It's just about a way of like learning how to kind of focus your mind and redirecting your attention back to that William James quote. Experience is what I agree to attend to. So if you teach yourself how to kind of redirect your attention, and that's really important. So I would say it's underrated. And tons of research shows that meditation has benefits in all kinds of domains. So I'm not an expert, but whether in research or personally.
I think the important point there is it can help a lot of people, but doesn't necessarily help everybody. I think it definitely got overhyped maybe 10 years ago. And there was this sense of like, and if it's not helping, you're not doing it right. I think now the research seems to have gotten a little bit more nuanced, and they found that even in a small percentage of people, it actually seems to make things worse for them. I've kind of downgraded it in my toolbox to kind of like try it, and if it helps, keep doing it, and if it doesn't, try something.
Yeah, I totally. Yeah, so it makes me feel better. I'm like, I don't know.
What am I doing
it's
wrong?
Not working. And like, is there something wrong with me? But I would also so,
Yes.
and actually, my first book, The How of Happiness, talked about 12 different strategies. 12 different strategies that people can use to be happier, and that's fairly arbitrary that it's 12, and there's really like 100. And it's really what there was research on at the time. And now, actually, I'm trying to update the book because it's all the same. The advice is just there's more research. But one of the themes of that book was the theme of fit, is that you have to choose or find what fits you.
Resurgence. Survive to redeploy fallen teammates.
Let's get it done. It's cool.
Target down. Marking the
Oh, Green, you scared the shit out of me, bro.
Bottom floor.
Oh, you on the bottom floor?
I make my way bottom floor.
He's walking fast. Passing the window.
You got reinforcements.
Oh, on me?
Enemy fire station incoming. Enemy fire station deployed. Compromised. Stand down.
He's broken.
Make it count.
Found a contract.
Bounty targets marked. Kill them all. Your squad mates back on station. Good work. Squad mates redeploying. Well done. Friendly mortar strike.
Calling in a counter UAV.
Got reinforcements inbound. active in the AO. Go get after it. Enemy dropping in.
Enemy here. Got contact.
Fire sale active. Been reduced. Go get your revenge.
Contact.
Resurgence is about to end.
What a little bitch, bro. Adjusting prices. Get ready. You're redeploying.
Contract here.
Resurgence has been deactivated. This is the end game. Supply crates are restocked. Advise you load up now. Time for vengeance. You're redeploying. Gas moving in.
Our counter UAV is active.
Head to the safe zone. Get back up there, yeah?
fits your personality, what fits your lifestyle, what fits your values, what fits your strengths and weaknesses. And it was in response to, and back then there weren't as many really there were really no science-based happiness books before that book. But the books kind of all said like, do this, like do this, like count your blessings. And my advice based on research is that, well, it depends, right? So some of you, counting your blessings would be like the perfect practice for you. And then for other people, like another example, like I find counting blessings just kind of trite and hokey.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for me. I mean, gratitude, I think, is a very powerful practice, but we might choose to practice it in a way that works for us. So anyway, the point being, meditation, whether it's meditation or gratitude or exercise even, positive thinking, that some of these fit some of us better than others, and we sort of choose what to focus on.
Yeah, next one. Drugs and alcohol.
Well, again, it depends on who your audience is, because the right answer is like, well, it's sort of overrated, right? We shouldn't use drugs and alcohol to be happy. But I have a more nuanced response to that. And by the way, addiction, terrible, right? Leads to so much suffering. But if you don't have an addictive personality, I think drugs and alcohol can sort of amplify, can kind of be a supplement, can be like a bonus to your life.
Yeah.
Just like anything, just like chocolate, right? Just like having a massage or going to Paris,
Wait, let me write it. So chocolate and drugs.
Yeah, right. Well, again, everything in moderation.
Yeah.
That when you think about what makes you happy, and also does not lead to unhealthy behavior, is not dysfunctional, in moderation, I think that could be only if you don't have an addictive personality. And you're not a child.
Yeah.
But I'm a little unusual in arguing that, because most people say, well, of course, it's good. Carl Hart, who's a neuroscientist at Columbia, he wrote a book called Drug Use for Grown-Ups. And he makes it's a great book.
Yeah.
He makes a pretty strong argument that we could do heroin, if we do it responsibly. And we don't have a personality, and we make sure it's not tainted. I mean, he kind of takes that strong argument, for a reason. I don't need or want to argue that. I'm just saying that almost anything positive in life can be in that toolbox to sort of amplify your life.
There's that fascinating story I don't know if you've heard about heroin use in the Vietnam War. So apparently in the Vietnam War, heroin was abundantly available to all the soldiers over there. And heroin use was just sky high for understandable reasons. It was something like, I forget the amount, but it's like 35% of the U.S. soldiers were using heroin in Vietnam. And so among the military, there was a lot of discussion and talks with the U.S. government of like, hey, when all these guys come home, we're going to have a public health crisis. And when all the soldiers did come home, it's like 99% of them stopped using. And they all went back and had normal lives. And so it's a really fascinating anecdote of how so much of addiction and substance abuse is driven by context and environment. If you're stuck in a quagmire of a war, heroin use might actually be the rational thing to do.
Absolutely.
Resurgence. Survive and your team can redeploy. Eliminate targets. Don't bring them back out.
Let's land together. Fucking damn it.
Stand by for redeployment. Be advised, an enemy squad is threatening your location.
Oh, god damn it. God, that fucking gun sucks. Sidewinder's unhandleable.
dead. Move to secure. Time for vengeance. You're redeploying.